Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call the Tuesday, September 17th Committee of the Whole meeting to order. First item on our agenda is the approval of today's agenda. Administration, you have an item you'd like to add?
Thank you, Madam Chair. If it please committee, we'd like to add 9.3, advice from officials.
Are there any other additions or deletions to today's agenda? Rachel?
I think we should delete 4 or 5.
Delete item 4.5. Delete it. Councillor Holland.
That would be in opposition to delete that. Is there a vote for this?
We'll vote on the agenda. Yes. Would you like to split that question?
For this, to split that question for sure.
Okay. Are there any other additions or deletions to today's agenda? Seeing none. Councillor
I'll move it.
Mintz has moved the adoption of the agenda as amended. We will split the question. I guess the first question I will call is on the deletion of item 4.5 from today's agenda. Was there any comments or?
I would say it's just not really properly before council. There's no admin report. We don't know who put it on. We don't know what we're asked to do. It's just an email in the agenda. That's why. And there's no reconsideration motion there.
Councillor Cromwell?
Thank you. I believe that due to the fact that we're committee, not council, we are here to discuss and talk and go round table, and that is the perfect place for that item to be.
Anyone else before I call the question? Okay, on the adoption of the motion to delete item 4.5 from today's agenda, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? My count is 4 and 5, and that motion fails. On the adoption of the motion to approve today's agenda as amended, which will include item 4.5. Call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes 9-0. Next item is the approval of the minutes from the August 20th Committee of the Whole meeting. I believe there was one amendment to the minutes that were pointed out to me. It is regarding resolution CW 24-131, which is on page 7 of your agenda, I believe. That motion should read, moved by Councillor Holland to direct administration to draft a new elected officials remuneration. Hang on, there's just a few extra words in there that I don't believe were part of that motion. Were there any other amendments required to the minutes from the August 20th meeting? Seeing none, Councillor Chamzik, you'd like to move the approval of the minutes as amended? Any further comments, questions? Seeing none, call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried 9-0. Oh, I'm sorry.
There were
one
2 opposed.
2 opposed. Motion carried 7-2. Next item is item 4.1, which is the action item list. This is found on page 9 of your agenda. Are there any questions related to the action item list? Are my page numbers off, Councillor Cromwell? You're giving me dirty looks here.
I was not. I was figuring out what that tapping was.
Recall.
On page 10 of the printed version, there's the second from the bottom, CC 2467. Just can admin provide us an update on when we might see that? The traffic bylaw.
That is traffic violation? Yes, Madam Chairman, actually, Director Whaley has completed a draft. We're looking at it and it occurred to us that it's not as time sensitive as road bans really come into effect in the spring, so we have a bit of time. So I've kind of rearranged the priority, so we've got some other things that are time sensitive, so it'll come, but it probably is when the snow flies.
Thank you.
Any further questions related to the action item list? Counselor Holland?
Thank you. Page 11, CC 24-329. Just looking to see if there's an update on that, please.
Item complete.
What number are we at?
CC 24329, which is on page 11 of your agenda packet.
Complete. It's your request. Where we at? In my opinion, that motion was not valid. Because in passing the motion, council violated a number of provisions of the code of conduct. Nonetheless, in an effort to put an end to this, I would respond. My response is as follows. I accept the investigator's conclusions that I did not breach the code of conduct. And because of that, and because I have already apologized to the affected school board trustee, no further apology from me to anyone is required. So I decline to make whatever apology was discussed in the closed session at which I was not present. Unless the report and the reasons for the apology are made public, it's not clear what's been done wrong and what the sanction is for. And I cannot offer more than I already have.
Any further questions related to the action item list? Seeing none, can we get a motion to accept the action item list for information? Counselor Cromwell. Call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that count is 8-1. And that motion passed. Next item is the CAO update on page 15 of your agenda package. Does anybody have any questions for the CAO? Seeing none? Counselor Gerlich.
With any of the tax recovery offerings, are they going to be done this fall or the spring, or what is the timeline?
Madam Chair, yes, we hope to package up the tax recovery properties for sale this fall. We've just got a few steps to go through. In the case of two properties in Rochester, we actually need to take title. So those documents have been submitted to land title. So we're just waiting for that. So the ideal timeline would be this fall.
Any further questions for the CAO regarding his update? Counselor Menz.
Just regarding the Island Lake water line, is there any more, has Island Lake gotten back to you at all? They had in their they had in their minutes of August 28th that they were going to reach out to Athabasca County and get a meeting going. No reach out has happened or anything?
Madam Chair, no, I've received nothing directly from Island Lake, Summer Village of Island Lake.
Okay, I looked in their agenda for tonight's meeting. But nothing in there, so just so everybody knows.
Thank you. Any further questions related to the CAO update? Seeing none, Counselor Chamzik, you wish to move to accept this for information? Thank you. We'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I will vote in favor, however, I don't think it's proper, being we don't have authority in this particular room to do that. I don't even think we need motions for these, but that's something we need to address.
Motion's carried 9-0. Next item is the department updates. We will begin with the Infrastructure Services Department update on page 16 of your agenda package. Does anybody have any questions for Director Whaley? Counselor Mins?
As we'll get going here. Bueller Pit, how did the,
Can you please point to which page you're talking about?
that'd
when
be the
you're
very
asking
first one,
questions?
page 16, Bueller Pit. Any information shared with that, like possibly who got the contract or?
Madam Chair, I can't provide who got the contract because there has to be some negotiation with the second and third party, as the person who was the lowest bidder actually addressed their holdback to the wrong owner and addressed it to the landowner instead of the county, so they were disqualified. So there is some juggling going on with the second and third closest bidders at the moment.
Okay, okay, so awesome. Just a comment, Splain Culvert. Thanks for getting that done. I think that's a huge moving forward with getting that out of the way. Page 17. Maintenance at Ghost Lake for I don't even know which line it is. I just noticed that it was a DLO access. What is that?
Through the chair, it's generally a lease agreement with the province. So,
To get access to the campground or?
yes,
Oh, okay,
so.
okay. Oh, I see. It wasn't with the landowner or something like that, but. Okay, I don't know if I should bring it up here right now or bring it up later, that the boat launch at Ghost Lake, are we going to like do anything with that?
Madam Chair, we are bringing back, hopefully at budget time, a request to do an assessment of all of our boat launches. There are issues with our licensing agreements with the province and with our Water Act applications on almost all of the boat launches, and we can't actually fix the boat launches without approval of the province. We can't enter the water. So it's going to be a work in progress, but it is hopefully going to be budgeted for. It's proposed anyway.
Okay, I've noticed that a lot of other boat launches in as I've traveled the community, or not community, but traveled the province and camping and fishing and that. A lot of boat launches use full slabs instead of these little, I call them parking bunkers. And I think that would go a long way if we're gonna actually, my thoughts is if we're gonna actually enter in and do something like this. That's what I'd really like to see happen out at County Beach. And actual slabs of cement put in instead of and it a little bit more undertaking, but I feel that they last a lot longer and they work a lot more efficient than having these spaces in between these two chunks of cement that usually erode, and if the cement busts apart, then you got big holes you got to deal with, and you can't deal with it because we don't have the authority, and it's like bang, bang, bang. Eh? So that's my thoughts. Thank you very much for looking into that. Page 19, line painting. Is it line paint? I know it came up in the I think in the airport thing, but all of a sudden it tweaked me. Is all of our line painting done on all of our county paved roads?
Yes, through the chair, all of our line painting for this year has been completed.
Okay, perfect. Page 20. I have the county-owned house in Rochester. We own a house there?
Madam Chair, yes, that's one that was taken in tax recovery and will be put for sale.
Oh, okay. So
So
no one's
it's-
living there right now.
Correct, it's boarded up.
I thought maybe we could rent it out to like a doctor or something. I don't know.
We'll take your application.
Right on. Let's see, page 21, cell phones for all personnel. Is the cell phones gotten generated for the Greaterman and all that? Or is that still on hold or?
Through the chair to Councillor Mins, the cell phones are on hold until we've finished the implementation of the Business Connect, which has just been completed, and a policy will have to go to the leadership team before it comes to council for appropriate cell phone use.
Yeah, okay. Because how is that working with the automatic or the timesheets getting in? Is that going to work through the cell phones or is that going to have to work through something else?
Through the chair to Councillor Mins, I would defer the answer to corporate services
Oh,
on how the new payroll system will work.
should be.
Madam Chair and members of the committee, yes, there'll be an app that they can use on their phone or a desktop. We're also providing, I believe, a computer for staff use at the Public Works Building for anybody who
okay.
needs to. And obviously, we'll be working with other admin staff to help assist all of our employees get it on board, but at some point they'll be on their own. But we'll try to make it as easy as possible.
Okay, sounds good. And then phones at the Public Workshop, is our phones working over there? Or do we have an issue?
Through the chair to Councillor Mins, the phones at the public workshop have been addressed now.
Page 22, full right-of-way cuts. Them boys are doing a great job out there. They've gotten great reviews on the right-of-way cutting and that they were just past my place and they're doing a great job. I just wanted to let you know on that. Yeah, and I think under infrastructure, I think I'm done.
Thank you. Counselor Holland.
Thank you. Just curious on page 17 through bridges, if we may also obtain an update on the Collinton Bridge, as I noticed it's still in place.
Through the chair to Councillor Holland, the tender for the removal and shoring is just completed and will be going out shortly. The engineering for the replacement of the bridge as per council resolution is complete and the new, the tender is prepared for replacement if council so decides.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you. That's good to hear. We had a window between July, I think, and the beginning of September, and I don't know why, but I assumed the bridge was coming out this fall. Is that not?
Through the chair to Councillor Holland, based on the type of shoring we've decided to do with it, it can be done at different times in the year. So.
Thank you for that.
It's a great update. Counselor Cromwell.
Thank you. A while ago, we had spoken about county facilities getting inspected, and I know we were waiting on that. Is there an update when these inspections were going to begin or where we are in that process right now?
Through the chair to Councillor Cromwell, all of the building assessments have been completed that were on the attended package. We are awaiting their reports on each building. We've had 3 come in just for how they look, just so that we could approve the way that the report looks. And then we are waiting on the rest of them.
Thank you very much.
Counselor Gerlich.
Yeah, I believe there's a question that Councilor Mins didn't ask. In regards to 634, Road 634, the bridge on 634 been repaired. It can handle the heavy traffic now. Excellent, thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions regarding the infrastructure services update? Recall.
A question and a comment, I guess. Can you, on page 19, talking about wastewater? It's nice to see more investment in the hamlets. And I'm wondering if you can share with us the estimated project costs in Wandering River and also in the second paragraph there, you talk about the space in the Rochester Lagoon. Can you give us just some interpretation from for those of us who are not wastewater experts? is this a problem or is it just something regular maintenance we need to address?
Through the chair to read, Paul, in regards to the cost for Wandering River, I would have to get back to council on that or committee on that. I apologize, I don't have it to hand. In the case of the Rochester Lagoon, dredging is part of regular maintenance. However, there is probably some remediation that will have to be done with that particular lagoon as it's reaching end of life. So.
Thank you.
And then there's some other repairs at the Highway 63 Rescue Center, and that and conversations I've had with others have made me wonder, from an administrative point of view, is there if we should be looking at seeking some grant funding to look at a corridor study on how we service the traffic and the needs of all the economic activity that occurs along Highway 63. It's maybe for the CIA.
Madam Chair, that's a great idea. I think we should probably have a bit of discussion about that during budget deliberations. There may be some opportunities that might be a bit more time sensitive if we were to pursue an ACP grant or something to that effect, but we'll look into that and have it ready for the first budget workshop.
Thank you. I did have a question also pertaining to the Highway 63 Rescue Center there. Is that building being included in our asset management or analysis of buildings? I know we don't own it, but if we're doing repairs on a frequent basis, is it being analyzed to see kind of the state of it?
Madam, excuse me, Madam Chair, I'd have to check on for certain on whether we included that one in the study or not. We have several buildings that we've recently discovered that there's possible ownership to or not possible ownership to, so we may have to do a small second round.
Any further questions for the director or pertaining to the infrastructure services update? Seeing none, let's move on to the corporate services department update on page 23 of your agenda package. Are there any questions for the director of corporate services? Counselor Mins.
I'll throw my one and only. Yeah. Page 24, Buoyant Alert. When I was on my whole conference in MD of Bonnyville, I was talking to one of the people there, and they said that their Buoyant Alert, they use it for if they have any stolen vehicles, if they have any break-ins or anything like that, just to get that information out there to the public. And I was just wondering, and I asked him how they did it, and he said that he figured that it went through the emergency services and CPO or something like that. I don't know if have you ever thought of something like that for the Buoyant Alert? Or
Madam Chair and members of the committee. Actually, through the survey that we just conducted, we're seeing that Buoyant Alert isn't used to the capacity that we're hoping. So certainly we'll definitely consider expanding what we can do with it to, one, entice people to use it, but secondly, to get the information out that's critical. So thank you for that recommendation.
okay, thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Holland.
If I may, just in addition to that, there are other avenues to use other than Buoyant Alert for that particular thing. And one is Barhead has a really good system that they use. I call it BARC, but it's BARCC. And that's where they use that information. And it's actually a good place it's one of the places to check into is how they're doing it and how they are making that information public and out there. And it seems to be working very well for them. So it's just another area to offer as a suggestion.
Thank you. Any further questions? Refall.
I wanted to compliment the administration for the good reduction in the significant reduction in the accounts receivable in the 91 plus category overall compared to a year ago. that's important to manage and look after those resources. And then I had two other questions. One of them was regarding the taxation outstanding amounts. Yeah, I think there's some changes occur at the 2-year mark on outstanding tax accounts. And so I'm just wondering, would it be reasonable or sensible to provide sort of a clear plan of action on how all the tax recovery items that are 2022 and greater, for how many properties is that? What's the plan? Because that gets us into the 2 years plus category, and or maybe even starting at 2021. And I know a significant portion of the 2020 and greater is oil and gas, but can we have a review, and can council see how many properties that is and what's there, and be assured that there's a plan to stomp on those, or not stomp on, but to recover what's appropriately been charged.
Thank you. Through the chair and to the members of the committee. Yes, certainly we can bring a report back for that. I would like a motion so we can put it in the books. And you did mention that the majority of these are tax recovery related to the oil field. And then keep in mind that some of these are also through the tax installment payment plan as well.
Okay, I'll make a motion after this question then. Can you just, the new submissions under the FRIAA, so see you've got 5 non-vegetation projects, and then there's one called a vegetation submission. And can you just expand on that? Are you looking to do fire smarting around those lakes, or what? It says assisting with a vegetation submission.
Madam Chair and members of the committee, yes, those are all fire smart related.
I would, relating to the tax balances, make a motion to request administration provide us a more detailed reporting on their outstanding accounts from greater than 2 years for the next or subsequent committee of the whole, whatever it's see, October, November, by the November committee of the whole meeting. And I'm not looking to create 40 hours of work. It's more just a little bit more detail on what's there.
So you'd like to make a motion to direct administration to provide a more detailed reporting of the outstanding tax balances greater than 2 years?
Yes.
Questions or comments? Councillor
you.
Holland.
Being that we don't have authority here in to make those motions, would it be to recommend to council?
For me, the answer is no. This is about making requests to come to provide information to the committee for greater discussion.
Understood, but we don't have authority to make motions such as that here.
That's how the committee seems to function, actually, is by making motions to bring information here, so. Is there any further comments or questions? Running it, Councillor Gerlich.
On the tax arrears with oil companies and whatever, are they companies that no longer exist, or are they companies that have, do they have other assets within the jurisdiction, or kind of what is their status?
Madam Chair and members of the committee, from our quick analysis, some of them are no longer existing. They've dissolved. There are some that are still active. And we continue to send them statements. And so at this point, I'm not sure how the government of Alberta is dealing with these, and we're just awaiting further direction.
I just wondered, generally, if you assume someone's assets of a company, you also would assume their liabilities. Just feeling uncomfortable, that's all.
Madam Chair, in the latest issue of RMA's Contact magazine, if all of council's subscribe to it, I'm not too sure. I hope you are. If not, I'll forward it. There's an article in there about a recent ministerial order that was approved, which does allow transfer of assets again for companies, even though they may owe amounts to local authorities. So for a while, there was a regulation in place saying you couldn't transfer assets to another company until your tax bill was paid up. And the province has recently changed that a little bit and refined it. And I'll send that out to council after the meeting so you all can see it. And I would advise you all, when I send you the contact newsletter, if you haven't subscribed, you should, and you'll get the same info right from RMA.
Thank you. Councillor Cromwell.
Thank you. As we've talked many a time, we like to make sure that we follow our policies and procedures to the letter. And I would like to make an amendment to the motion on the board, which would read, recommend to county council to direct administration to bring back a more detailed report on outstanding taxes of more than 2 years to an upcoming committee of the whole meeting in 2024.
I think that's trying to reword the entire motion. But if you'd like to amend to recommend to county council to direct administration, just to add those words, that would be.
I don't think it's rewording the motion, but yes, I can change to recommend to county council to direct administration to.
Any further comments, questions? Or call the question, Councillor Holland.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that because in our procedural bylaw, 6.3, committee of the whole is authorized only to make recommendation by motion to council or another committee. So even our accepting reports is something that we should not be doing without directing to council. Therefore, I question as well, further to that, why we're doing motions to accept reports when we don't have the authority to do that here. So I definitely think we need to make sure that we're following the proper procedural bylaw when we're making these motions.
If that's the case, then we must remove item 6.2 from today's agenda because we didn't have the authority to direct administration to make amendments and bring it back there. But I think that defies why we're here today, so.
You have a bylaw.
Councillor Reeve Hall has made a motion to direct administration to provide a more detailed reporting of the outstanding tax balances greater than 2 years. Councillor Cromwell would like to amend that motion to recommend to county council to direct administration. On the adoption of the amendment, we'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
That's 5. And opposed? No. 6 and 3. Sorry, I didn't see Councillor
Oh, sorry. I said
Gerlach
aye.
raise his hand.
Oh.
On the adoption of the motion to recommend to county council to direct administration to provide a more detailed reporting of the outstanding tax balances greater than 2 years. All in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? 8 and 1. That motion is carried. Are there any further questions for the Director of Corporate Services regarding her update? Seeing none, we'll move on to the Community and Protective Services Department update, which begins on page 28 of your agenda package. Councillor Gerlich. Sorry, Councillor Cromwell.
Thank you. For those that didn't hear, he said I was the good-looking Gerlach. Not any question, just compliment to the director and her staff, actually. 23 citations over 30 kilometers an hour above the posted speed limit. 7 at 40 and 1 at 80. Crikey, great job to your crew. Please, thank you very much. I noticed also on page 32 that your team issued 39 warnings and 100 citations in the month of August. Looking at our year to date, that is a huge portion. And it is very nice to see that department out there for public safety and issuing those tickets and warnings to ensure the safety of the rest of our residents. So please pass on a great job to the crew. The one question I have that maybe I missed, and that could be completely my error. Our bylaw officer, has he been appointed as an actual CPO yet? If not, is that going to happen?
Yes, we received his appointment. It's a partial appointment in beginning of August.
Follow-up, what is a partial appointment?
Well, he's still working on some courses for all of the traffic side of things.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further questions? Director, oh, sorry, Counselor Chambliss.
I just have a quick question. When it says planning is still underway for Power Up North, for the Lac La Biche, what kind of planning do we do?
Our EC Dev coordinator is part of that planning committee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Brief call.
There's a comment that the ICS 200 is being rescheduled for late September, October. Just can you clarify which year? Is that like coming up or is that next year?
Yeah, coming up shortly. So our hope is to get the ICS 200 out of the way here this fall, and then we can get the folks that need 300 done in the spring before fire season, hopefully.
Thank you. Any further questions for the director? I do have a question regarding the statistics on page 32 of our agenda. It says fire protection bylaw, we have 55 year to date, and there was only 16 year to date last year. Is that related to our new fire services bylaw being able to enforce certain things now, or what's the reason for such a large increase?
My sense is because of the strength of our new bylaw, for sure.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Holland.
Page 33 on the instant demographics report. For budgetary reasons more than anything, is it possible to expand this report to include the departments that are responding so that we know, how active each department is rather than the area that these incidents are taking place in?
We're going to give you an update in closed session today on those things.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further questions for the director? Seeing none, we get a motion to accept the department updates as information. Councilor Cromwell. Call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carried 8-1. Item 4.4 are the counselor updates. We will begin with Councilor Cromwell.
Thank you very much. Still getting a few road complaints, but great job to the director and her crew for getting graveling done and getting a lot of our roads fixed up. So we definitely appreciate. I noticed a few projects that were on the list from last year that were taken care of and look phenomenal. So please pass on a great thanks again also to your crew for what they're doing out there. Otherwise, we're sitting pretty happy out there and not much to talk about this month.
Thank you. Councilor Gerlich.
Yeah, not a lot happening in beautiful Division 1. The bridge is up and running, and that was the biggest thorn in anybody's side because there were a number of concerns and complaints, and it was up and running before school started, and people in the area are quite pleased with that. Really, there's not a whole lot happening. People are harvesting and everybody's busy.
Thank you. Councilor Kapitaniak.
Good morning. Okay, so in Division Two, the Collington Community Club resumed meeting after the summer. It was a very busy summer with lots of weddings on the weekends and other family events, and unfortunately, there was quite a lot of funerals during the week, but the hall was used consistently for the last couple months. We just did a casino up in Fort Mac for a fundraiser, and I went to that, so that was nice to spend some time a little bit more one-on-one with some of the community group members. I attended the Road to Hope Golf Tournament fundraiser on behalf of the county alongside Councillor Wallach and two of the county team members. I am really glad that this council continues to commit to supporting Road to Hope as councils before have historically, and recognize how valuable that service is for our community and the extended community. And if anyone has ever used Road to Hope or had the pleasure of volunteering for them in any way, you would definitely agree that that is something that I think stands out and makes our community amazing. So it was a really great day there. We had the multiplex board meeting just recently and approved the budget request that will be coming to council, I believe, prior to September 30th, as we had requested. So I also am proud of the multiplex board and for Rhonda for having the information ready and on time and making our budget deliberations, I don't want to say simpler, but definitely with more information, which is great. Ratepayer concerns in the last month, the Collington Bridge, which we heard all the reports and things are moving. So people are actually looking positive towards resolution. They believe us. They believe in us. They believe in infrastructure department, which is great. I did hear there's an action group that is forming. I'm not exactly sure what direction they're looking to go, but I think it's going to be a lobbying effort. If things aren't happening, I'm not not very informed, but on it. But I do know that we could be looking forward to just hearing more stories of people that are impacted and what direction they want to take that. There was a request for more weed spraying in the playground and around the skating rink next year. I know it was we got some done this year. The pansies really taken off in those areas, and so it was good to see that community members were taking turns cutting it as much as they can. But once it gets big, we don't. I know myself, I don't have a weed whacker that takes that down. But the grass cutting was very appreciated. There was lots of compliments, especially with the hall being utilized so much this summer, having that space cut for campers to stay. Kudos to everyone on the mowing team. There was another concern regarding a residence that has refuse issues in their yard. And I would like to compliment what is likely the diplomatic approach of whichever bylaw officer dealt with that, because I noted that it was cleaned up pretty much immediately after it was reported. So I reported it on behalf of ratepayers here and came back to Collington the next day and it was all cleaned up. So that's just a really good action. We have a community features meeting tomorrow, community features meeting on Zoom. And if it's okay with council, I just want to talk about a couple of things in closed, just on the premise that I'll have to name people on that committee with some concerns. So maybe I'll just slip it in later. And that's pretty much it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Paul?
In addition to the scheduled meetings, I've worked on the rail strike letter, and I think council should be congratulated on the important demonstration of support for our largest ratepayer and regional employer. I attended and stopped in at an event with second-year medical students who are currently completing some training in this area. Last night, just by sort of happenstance, I was introduced to one of the internationally educated nurses who was out receiving a tour of the town, and the tour guide saw me and stopped, and so that was great. I've fielded a couple of questions about our progress on the graveling program in the region. And another one about some concerns about a potential expansion of a peat mine near someone's residence. I also attended the mayor's breakfast. There were about 80 people who were there, basically a full house, and heard a number of favorable responses on that event. And I was invited and attended the AU golf tournament last Friday. So for the first time this year, and I think maybe even last year, I had the clubs out, and that was a great day. And it seems like there's some positive change happening at one of the larger employers in the region. And otherwise, it feels like we were just here. So that's what I have.
Thank you.
That's what I can remember.
Counselor Mins.
Yeah, same thing. Division 1 is Division 8. Combines are rolling. Actually, they're catching up to themselves with trying to find some dry stuff, but that's farming. I guess went to a great conference, CARES conference in Bonnyville last week, and seen lots of had some very good discussions with other people in the waste management end, and seen some very recreational site, very beautiful recreational site Bonnyville has at Canuso. And it's amazing. If you ever get a chance to go there, it's unreal. So I think the one big chairlift actually goes into Saskatchewan for the ski hill. But yeah, and got some great information from there. I'll be delivering a report on that. And what else is going on? I want to thank the CPOs and Director Wilkinson for taking care of a couple of trailer issues that all of a sudden popped up in Division 8 around the lake. And other than that, I think the water, I think, is pretty well quit running out of Baptiste Lake. Just a heads up. So it's empty? No, it actually, I think the beavers might have caught up to it finally again. So maybe. So yes, but other than that, everything's status quo, and going to Hinton tonight for another conference. You betcha.
Thank you. Counselor Holland.
Thank you. August was pretty quiet. Like I say, scheduled meetings took place. I took on more actual complaints than I have in a while though. I figured harvest would slow things down, but the seasons are changing, and so I was receiving concerns with regards to the main ones, top 5. Dogs, snow plowing, the cost, road allowance blockages. I'm assuming that has to do with hunting season now is upon us. Let's see, the rundown abandoned buildings was another one. And of course, as the leaves start to fall, they become more noticeable. And the Collinson Bridge, that one I don't think will ever die until we get that dealt with. But those were the main concerns. The kudos that I'd like to leave with though are to Public Works. And everybody can see they're catching up, and it's being well noticed, and people are very happy about that, especially during harvest season. So thank you very much for that. But I'll leave it at that. Trails, of course, are huge, still working with those, and more people are gaining interest and looking for it and wondering where it is and how it works and all of those things. So I'm glad to see that people are getting out there and enjoying that beautiful weather that we've been having. So thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Chamzik.
Committees have been busy. Some have already approved budgets for this upcoming year. I attended the FCSS barbecue, immunity barbecue. It was great. Met with some residents with complaints about our mowing program, which kind of leads into some drainage issues within our hamlets. It's definitely going to be a priority for me to speak about for the level of service and budget talks. June 21st was the last time the Hamlet of Grassland was done, which is nearly 3 months ago for mowing. Other than that, getting ready for meetings with other committees, his budget's underway. And a reminder to our people out there in the public to have a look at our events calendar, as there's some neat events coming up. And some of the compliments I've had is within our patch graveling program and graveling in general, so great job.
Thank you, Councillor Wallach.
Yeah, it's been busy farming, but we had the opportunity to host the 4 med students through the Regional Healthcare Committee at our farm last week, and some of the local doctors, and it was awesome. A lot of them, 2 of the med students from Calgary had never been into a rural community before or on a farm, nothing. So it was very exciting to watch their interest peak and understand where flour came from because they had no idea, or tour the garden and see where vegetables were grown. So it was a very awesome evening and great night. So that was about it for this month.
Thank you. I've been kept pretty busy with agenda reviews, preparing for the multiplex meeting that we had yesterday. We had a jam-packed agenda full of talking about grants and asset management. I believe the multiplex leadership team will be providing a delegation to council very soon about the asset management program that they've implemented at the multiplex and the costs going forward with it, and just give everybody a realistic view of kind of what maintaining a building that size and that age is going to look like for the future, so that we all are aware. I think that's really important. We also have strategic planning coming up. We set a couple extra dates to meet with the consultant in October. Just really working hard to make sure that that governance role is the focus there, and strategic planning, asset management, grant, utilizing every grant we possibly can to make it as feasible as possible to operate that building for our community and the services there. And we of course passed our operational and capital budgets, so you should see those very shortly. As far as residents' concerns, I would really like to thank the infrastructure department and county staff and contractors for completing the Splain Bridge culvert. That's a wonderful thing to check off the list. I've heard quite a few concerns about the Amisk Lake boat launch and the county-owned beach at Buck Lake. Hoping to hear more about it at budget. I know that they can't really fix the issues just magically. There's a lot of paperwork and hoops to jump through, and there's some money required to do that. So that's great. And it's also really hard to tell residents that I'm sorry the lake level is down, but I can't do anything about that. If I could, I would. Some of the school bus drivers have also caught me at school pickup to express concerns about the road maintenance in the Elscott area. They don't like washboard apparently, but hopefully with some of the moisture we've gotten recently, that it'll help the grader operator be able to cut some of it out. You know, when gets really dry, it's hard to do that. I also want to say, heard some beaver concerns and some water concerns lately that there's not a lot that we can do about them. There's, you know, if the beavers are building dams right over top of a pipeline, you can't really dynamite that or different things. But I really appreciate the quick response of the administrative team anytime we've reached out. I think that's fantastic that they get back to you and get a response, and you can craft plan B if there is a requirement. So I'm just really thankful for that, and I'm looking forward to a busier schedule here in October, and the Athabasca Ag Society's harvest dinner on October 26th, which will hopefully be the wrap of harvest season. It's got to come to an end soon, really. Thank you. Would somebody like to make a motion to accept our counselor updates as information? Councilor Wallach. Call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That vote carries 8-1. Next item on our agenda is item 4.5, residential driveway snow plowing program concern. I believe there was a letter on page 38 of your agenda. Administration, did you want to address this item?
No, Madam Chair, it's just included in the package per the request.
Keep Councilor Holland.
Thank you. I appreciate having this opportunity to have this conversation, as we are the voice of our residents. And when our residents speak up, we're to bring
As a
that to
point
the
of order, Madam Chair, the procedural bylaw says that no discussion of an item on a decision that has been of a question that's been decided shall be allowed until there's been a motion for reconsideration. So because we keep hearing about how we got to stick to the rules, I have to voice my objection.
Councilor Holland?
Thank you. So I'm really appreciative that people are coming forward and voicing their concerns and letting us know. I mean, more and more people that come forward, I value that, and I really appreciate hearing from them. I am in agreement that we have a concern that has been overlooked during this particular policy, and that is with regards to our subdivisions who had previous capabilities of purchasing a flag, therefore their driveways were obviously able to be completed with snow plowing. And now we've arbitrarily removed that from them. And so I'm going to ask from this particular letter and other concerns that I have received that we bring back this particular policy to review our subdivisions who have been negatively impacted, which wasn't necessary or intended. So that's where I sit. I would recommend to direct, or I guess I recommend to County Council that we have this conversation to revisit this particular policy to encompass our subdivisions, and where they had that service, they should maintain that service.
So you'd like to recommend to County Council to reconsider motion CC 2441 and revisit the policy? Is that?
I can't remember which motion was made with the original one, but yes,
That's
to read.
at the bottom of the policy, so.
Okay, yeah, 3201 is the policy number that I would like to have council reconsider, please.
So Counselor Holland has made a motion to recommend to County Council to reconsider motion CC 2441 and revisit policy 3201 residential driveway snow plowing program. Is there any comments on this item? Reeve Hall?
This was passed in January with unanimous consent after lots of discussion. And, you know, there's a trend at our council that keeps circling back. We've had one person come up with a problem. Last year, we kept hearing, we can't touch the program in the fall. It's too close to the fall. Let's run through the season. We'll do a new one effective July 1st. And now suddenly we've got one potential issue and we want to open the discussion up again. Why wouldn't we run the program for a season and see what other bumps and glitches come up? We're never going to get things 100% right on the first go. I've come to figure that if we can get to a place where we can get 95% of the problem solved, we're doing pretty well. And you know, we need to do the hard work when we're actually doing the work, not keep rehashing it. So I think we should table this until after the snow season and look at all the potential changes that need to be made for improvements in this policy.
Counselor Chanzik?
I disagree because you know what, I also have had a couple people now bring this to my attention. of some of the issues in our multi-lots. If, people that have had this service in the past and now even getting phone calls of declining services now from now in the future. I think it's a great thing to bring back. I think it's going to be a great discussion.
Any further discussion? Okay, I'll give Counselor Holland the last one.
Thank you very much. Yes, I think it is, and I agree. We're hearing more and more about it. And when we hear problems coming forward, we should address them, not leave them on the shelf to see if there's any other problems that may arise. These people had the right to have their driveways completed and snow plowed at one time, and they bought their flags, they had their places assessed, they've done their due diligence, and then to have it just ripped out from underneath them was definitely an oversight as far as I'm concerned on our part, and something that we definitely need to address. So I would appreciate that support. Thank you.
Counselor Gerlich, I just gave Counselor Holland the last word. Go ahead. I haven't called the question yet. Counselor Gerlich.
Okay, I agree with both parties. I think we put a policy in place. Let's deal with that policy. Then on the other hand, the few people that have had the service and are still requiring it, perhaps could be grandfathered for this particular year. And then if there is a need to revisit the policy come spring, then we should do that. But you can't nail it 100% every time. And you can't keep going back to it to try and nail it 100% because it still won't be 100% after you do that another time. So I think we should run with the policy, but we should grandfather those people who have had the service for this winter at least, and see how it goes from there.
Counselor Mintz.
I like that idea. I was hoping that we'd never have to open up this policy ever again. Because again, every council and for the last, I don't know how many years have beat the living death out of this. And every time you change it, you just open it up to another issue. Well, if you're going to do it for them, why aren't you doing it for me? And it just keeps compounding. And I was very much hoping that we could run this for a year and see. I'm on the same boat as Councillor Gerlach with, I agree with both ways, but I also agree with sticking to our guns and running a policy and just seeing what else is possibly wrong with it. Because we're never going to make everybody happy. We're not. Let's just call a spade a spade. So there's in a policy, there is a wording that says under the direction of infrastructure or the designate to see if they can do that driveway. And maybe it could fall on that. So we don't have to open up this policy again. I definitely and may get beat up here, but hamlets, I don't think should ever be looked at for snow removal in driveways. And as we see from lake subdivisions, it's so tight in there, they're kind of like a hamlet. There's not a lot of space in that, so yeah, I would like to fall back onto that wording of if they had it done last year and Public Works says or administration says that they can maybe do it, well, maybe we can fall back on that. But I just don't want to open up this policy again. I really don't. Not until January, February, March of next year to say what else do we have to change? Because are we going to open it up every time somebody complains? Because holy man, we better, that's what our meetings are going to be actually entailing, is this snow plowing policy.
Councilor Cromwell.
Thank you. I very much agree with the last two speakers. I'm the wording is in there allowing the discretion, and I think if we have done it and are able to do it, we're not here to take away services from the one or two. We're here to make sure that things are fair and equitable across the board, and that what a ratepayer gets in area 1 is what they get in area 9, is what they get in area 15, is what they get in area 32. I'm making up numbers right now. But the point is, they are real numbers. I do appreciate that, Mr. Reeve. Thank you. I think that it does need to be fair across the board. I don't think at any point it was ever meant to be discriminatory. However, if you do it 2020, 2021, 22, 23, and then say in 2024, well, we've changed the policy and your type is now excluded. I think that is maybe an oversight that did not mean to happen. And if there's a way around that, the administration can do without reopening a policy that I think for once we were actually happy with as a group, we should continue to be happy with it and allow that leeway as required.
Director, would you be able to comment on approximately how many individuals have tried to apply for the snow plowing program and reside in a multi-lot or lake subdivision?
Madam Chair, 5 to my knowledge.
5 total? We're looking at reopening a policy for 5 people. That's there. Oh, boy. Okay, Chamzik first.
From my understanding, some of those people have been called because they've been declined with their application. Are they going to be reconsidered this upcoming year?
Through the chair to Councillor Chamzik, do you mean the people who have been called and said that they've been told that they don't fit inside policy?
Apparently, this person in particular has had her driveway done in the past. She applied under this policy, and then she received a phone call back from somebody in administration declining her application because she's a multi-lot subdivision.
Yes, if council wishes to offer discretion to the wording in the policy, we can do that. I do not know if we have a record of all people that have been declined. I mean, just through the chair, some of them have reached out to you guys, not directly to administration, and I'm not the only point of contact that answers the phone, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Mintz.
Yeah, that was a question that I had. How do we possibly make this happen? Do we need to? Are we gonna just allow administration to? I would say allow administration to have, excuse me, to have discretion on multi-lot subdivisions. Let's stay away from hamlets and lake shore subdivisions. Because we're getting into some pretty tight quarters there, and I don't want to start putting up hamlets and lake shore subdivisions, but so how do we do this? Do we not direct, but I guess maybe through council? Do we need a motion? Do we need a?
The motion that Councillor Holland has put on the table is to recommend to County Council to reconsider motion 2441 and revisit policy 3201 residential driveway snow plowing program.
Amendment.
Well, if we wanted to amend to.
So then at council, once we vote to reconsider, then we can decide kind of what amendments we'd like to make. But
That's
until
opening up,
council
that's opening up the.
it opens up the whole policy, right? Refall?
I mean, it's important to remember there's no right to plowing. It's a service that we offer, and we've typically not offered it in hamlets. And, you know, we do provide different levels of service in different areas. Some places we provide pavement. Some places we provide really close access to truck fill, whether it's ag water or other water. You know, the idea that this was ripped out from under people overnight is hard to accept, because we started this process well before January. specifically to provide time and notice so that people could be prepared for the change. We came to a conclusion, and again, I will say, we have a habit of continuously trying to rework the stuff we've already done. It's time to start making some new decisions. And really, if we want to be absolutely fair, to be fair to everyone in the county and make it equal for everyone in the county, we should just plain and simple not plow driveways at all. That's the only way to be fair, because there will always be a case where someone doesn't get it. So if we want that fairness, cancel the whole program and then we're done. I don't support that. I think it's how it works, that we have to get it right for the majority that we can. Let's give it a chance, see how it works, see what other things come up, and then we can take some thoughtful time and adjust it if we need to. Because let's say 5 people have come up, multiply by 10, so there's 50. There's still 6,950 people that don't have a problem with it.
Counselor Cromwell.
Through the chair to the CAO, based on the wording of that policy as is, do we need a motion to allow the director to make that judgment call?
Madam Chair, it seems to me pretty clear the areas that we would not accept an application for. So if council want to revisit it, I would suggest some wording be refined.
Thank you. Counselor Chanzik. Okay. Counselor Holland, I will give you the final word one last time before I call this question.
Thank you very much. I definitely think that this was an oversight, as I mentioned. I don't believe there's 6,950 people who are happy with this at all, as they wouldn't all have their driveways plowed. They certainly didn't all buy flags. So that we're looking at a program here that people had, and then we took the service from them without realizing how it would impact. Therefore, it's a simple change to the policy, very simple. It would take us a consent agenda to handle it. We wouldn't even have to discuss it. So I urge everyone to give administration that opportunity to make that one small change, bring that back to council as recommended, and we move on. Make people happy. That's what we're here for, to provide a service, not ignore people who used to have them.
Counselor Waller.
Just for clarification, we still have to do a reconsideration motion before we amend anything. So we do have to discuss this at council.
Counselor Holland has moved to recommend to County Council to reconsider motion CC 2441 and revisit policy 3201 residential driveway snow plowing program. On that, we call the question. All in favor? Opposed?
Nay.
That motion is carried 7-2. We now, in order to take a recess for approximately 15 minutes, and we will come back to
Motion to go into closed.
Councilor Wallach is making a motion to go into closed at 10:45. Call the question. All in favor? Motion carried.
Yes. Aye.